I really wanted to look outside wearing Foggles, so that was a big struggle.
Yeah, the Foggles, they look kind of funny, but the purpose of them is to simulate instrument conditions. So they kind of have like a fogged, limited view color or cover on the top, so your eyesight is only limited to the instruments inside the airplane. It kind of blocks your view outside the airplane, outside the windows. It's not a perfect system, but it's pretty much as good as we can get without real clouds. So the purpose of it is to get the students focus onto the instruments so they can practice reading the instruments, interpreting them, and flying the plane solely by reference to the inside instruments, not looking outside the horizon or landmarks or things outside like in private.
The first time was just very different from private. Putting on the Foggles, it blocks your view of the outside, so you're forced to look solely at your instruments. And it really forces you to learn how to multitasking, basically, like having to look at across both screens, ensure that everything is coordinated. You want to make sure that you're keeping up with what you need to be doing, staying ahead of the plane. Like, there's a lot that goes on with instrument, but it's really nice to see that coming from ground, bringing that knowledge into the airplane and really getting everything to connect. You know, it's one thing to learn it on the ground, but then to see everything you've been studying actually happen in the airplane, really, really rewarding. It's actually been super, super fun to do. So I've really enjoyed it.
So my first time actually flying an instrument, you know, you spend a long time learning about all of the material, get ready for your written test, but to actually get into the plane, it's a little overwhelming at first. You know, you really need to rely on your instructor to kind of assist you along the ways, just so you don't forget, you know, as you're shooting approaches, you don't want to forget radios to tune into or get ready to land or anything like that. So it's a lot of staying ahead of the aircraft that maybe you didn't have to worry about in private.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, you'll see them looking over here, trying to, because you have to look up to get your eyesight to come out the bottom part of the Foggles.
I really wanted to look outside wearing Foggles, so that was a big struggle to learn how to solely look at your instruments and not fixate on one instrument, and to make sure that you didn't, you know, try and poke your head up to look out the window a little bit. But I've gotten used to them now that I've been wearing them more.
One of my biggest struggles flying instruments so far is I have this tendency to want to look outside of the plane. You know, I've done 60 hours of flying for private where that's all I do is look outside of the plane. But now that I'm an instrument and I have the Foggles on, it's very hard to fight that urge to not look out and try and find the runway that you're coming to land in.
I think the Foggles is not a scary experience because, like you said, you can take off the Foggles and you can see outside and everything's normal. I would say maybe the first time flying in actual can be a little intimidating because you don't have that safety net. I have to get this airplane through the clouds safely. There's no attitude, no horizon. You have to look at the attitude indicator to get the airplane through that horizon. So it can be a little bit scary and it can be a little bit disorienting, I would say, but like you're taught with your instructor, just trust your instruments and your instructor will be there to guide you through that experience.
So when you're wearing the Foggles, it will completely block your windscreen. All you can see are your instruments, which is about right here in front of you. You do not see anything outside. You don't see the trees, you don't see the clouds, you don't see anything but your instruments. So it really forces you to learn how to read, interpret, and trust your instruments.
Wearing Foggles during instrument flight, it's just another sense that you have cut out. You know, it's a very limited view that you have of what you can see. Your peripheral is pretty much non-existent at that point. So you really have to fight the urge to look around and solely just rely on the instruments that are in front of you. Everything else around you is pretty much non-existent at that point.
So you want to wear Foggles as much as possible because you need 35 hours of instrument training towards that check ride. You don't have to wear them if you're in the clouds, so if you have really good days where it's cloudy outside and you can practice actual IFR flying, then you can just take the Foggles off and fly through the clouds that way. If it's a beautiful blue sky day, then you have to wear the Foggles as much as possible, obviously not when you're taking off or landing, but to get that valuable instrument experience and to count that time towards your check ride.
I would recommend put your Foggles on before you get in the plane just to get a feel for them, just to see what sort of restrictions there are. Don't drive with them on, but maybe sit in your car and put them on just to see what it looks like, just to know what to expect before you get in the airplane with them, I think is the best piece of advice.
Students that haven't used Foggles yet and are getting ready to take that step into instrument, or even for private if they need to use them for a little bit, I'd recommend wearing them outside of the plane just to see what they are like. The first time you get in the plane and put them on, it's kind of disorienting in a sense whenever your peripheral is entirely cut out. I definitely wish that I got used to the Foggles prior to getting into the plane.